A chill often hangs over Silicon Valley. Sometimes it is the shadow of ambition. Elizabeth Holmes arrived like a phantom. She spoke of revolution. She promised a future where a single drop of blood held all the answers. Her eyes, wide and unblinking, seemed to pierce through you. They held a conviction that was almost hypnotic. People listened. Powerful people. They saw a visionary. They saw the next Steve Jobs. Holmes adopted the black turtleneck. It became her uniform. Her voice deepened. It became a baritone, commanding. She cultivated an aura of intense focus. She was the woman who would change healthcare forever. The narrative was compelling. A young dropout, a bold idea, a world waiting to be transformed. But behind the carefully crafted image, questions began to stir. The valley held its breath, not knowing the storm that was gathering. Theranos, the name itself was a portmanteau. Therapy and diagnosis, it sounded futuristic. Elizabeth Holmes founded it in 2003. She was just 19, a Stanford dropout. She had a vision to make blood testing faster, cheaper and more accessible. No more large needles, just a tiny prick, a microsample, and a small sleek machine called the Edison. This device, she claimed, could run hundreds of tests, all from that single drop. The promise was immense. Holmes painted this picture with unwavering confidence, but beneath the surface, the reality was far from the promise. The promise was a carefully constructed illusion. Elizabeth Holmes did not just build a company, she built a myth. Her personal story was central to this myth. The precocious intellect, the fear of needles inspiring her mission, the singular dedication, reportedly working 7 days a week, sleeping little. She was portrayed as a modern-day Joan of Arc in the world of medicine. This narrative was powerful. It drew people in. It made them want to believe. She wasn't just selling a product, she was selling a dream of a healthier future led by her unwavering resolve. The board of directors assembled by Theranos was a statement in itself. It was packed with powerful men, former secretaries of state, generals, senators. Their presence lent an air of unshakable legitimacy. If these experienced leaders believed in Holmes, who were others to question her? This star-studded board became another layer of armor for Holmes. It deflected scrutiny. It amplified her credibility. The company seemed untouchable, destined for greatness. The higher she rose, the more insulated she became. Yet, this unwavering belief, both internal and external, rested on a precarious foundation. It was powered by deceit. Even as Theranos basked in the glow of public admiration, whispers began to circulate. Quietly at first, within the scientific community, skepticism simmered. The claims seemed to defy the known principles of chemistry and engineering. How could so many tests be performed accurately on such a tiny sample? Experienced pathologists and lab experts raised eyebrows. They questioned the lack of peer-reviewed data. They wondered why Theranos operated in such an opaque manner. These were not loud accusations, just quiet, persistent doubts. Inside Theranos, the atmosphere was becoming increasingly tense. Employees who voiced concerns about the technology's reliability were often marginalized, or worse, they were fired. A culture of fear took root. Loyalty to Holmes and her vision was paramount. Dissent was not tolerated. Sunny Balwani, Holmes's romantic partner and the company's president, enforced this culture with an iron fist. His management style was described as combative, his demands often unrealistic. This environment stifled open discussion. It buried problems deep beneath the surface. The gap between the public image and the internal reality was widening. The cracks in the foundation were growing larger. The early whispers of doubt were slowly growing louder. The first tip arrived like a cryptic message. It hinted at a massive deception. A company celebrated as a beacon of innovation, potentially a house of cards. As a journalist, skepticism is a default setting, but the source was credible. The claims, if true, were explosive. Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes, the darlings of Silicon Valley. The story seemed almost too big, too audacious to be a complete fabrication. The quest for truth began. It was a journey into a world of secrecy and intimidation. Investigating Theranos was like peeling an onion. Each layer revealed another, more troubling reality. The company was a fortress. Holmes was fiercely protective of its image. Lawyers were quick to threaten legal action. Non-disclosure agreements silenced former employees. Finding people willing to speak, even off the record, was a challenge. But the truth has a way of seeping out. Courageous individuals, driven by conscience, began to share their stories. Their accounts painted a disturbing picture. The Edison devices were not performing as claimed. The company's claims to investors, to partners, to the public were built on a foundation of lies. The image of Elizabeth Holmes, the visionary, began to crack. The unmasking of Theranos was not just a journalistic endeavor. October 2015. The first article hit the newsstands. It landed like a bombshell. The carefully crafted narrative of Theranos began to unravel. The Wall Street Journal laid bare the company's deceptions. It detailed the failures of the Edison technology. It quoted former employees. It questioned the accuracy of the tests. The story sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley and far beyond. The public, once captivated by Holmes, was now confronted with a starkly different portrayal. One of a company built on secrets and lies. Theranos and Holmes herself reacted swiftly and aggressively. They denied the allegations. They attacked the credibility of the sources. They tried to discredit the reporting. Holmes went on television. She maintained her composure. She defended her company. She reiterated her vision. She insisted the technology worked. But the carefully constructed dam of secrecy had been breached. The water was now rushing through. The regulatory floodgates opened. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services inspected Theranos' main lab in Newark, California. Their findings were damning. They uncovered widespread deficiencies. They found practices that posed immediate jeopardy to patient health and safety. This was not just about faulty technology anymore. This was about a direct threat to public well-being. The agency threatened to ban Holmes from the blood testing business for 2 years. The carefully constructed world of Theranos was imploding piece by painful piece. The Securities and Exchange Commission launched its own probe. They focused on whether Theranos had deceived investors. Had the company lied about its technology? Had it inflated its revenue projections? The evidence mounted: internal documents, emails, witness testimonies. They all pointed to a systematic effort to mislead, to create an illusion of success where there was mainly failure. The labyrinth of lies was complex, but investigators were patiently, methodically mapping its every turn. The inevitable arrived in June 2018. A federal grand jury indicted Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny Balwani. The charges were serious: multiple counts of wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. The government alleged they had engaged in a multi-million-dollar scheme, a scheme to defraud investors, and a separate scheme to defraud doctors and patients. The indictments marked a new grim chapter. The charismatic CEO was now a criminal defendant. The pursuit of justice had formally begun. The trial of Elizabeth Holmes was set to be a landmark event. It attracted intense media attention. Here was the fallen icon of Silicon Valley, the woman once compared to Steve Jobs. Now facing the possibility of a long prison sentence, the courtroom became a theater. Every detail was scrutinized: her demeanor, her defense strategy, the testimonies of those she had allegedly deceived. The public was captivated. Was she a misunderstood visionary or a calculating fraudster? The trial promised to reveal the truth. The prosecution laid out its case meticulously. The jury would have to decide. After months of testimony and weeks of deliberation, the jury reached its verdict. January 2022. The air in the courtroom was thick with anticipation. Elizabeth Holmes stood impassive. The world watched. The clerk read the decision: guilty on 4 counts of defrauding investors. Specifically, 3 counts of wire fraud and 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. She was found not guilty on 4 counts related to defrauding patients. On 3 other counts concerning investors, the jury could not reach a unanimous verdict. The split verdict was complex, but the message was clear. The jury believed Holmes had intentionally deceived those who funded her company. The dream she sold was, in their eyes, a calculated lie when it came to financial backers. The conviction marked a stunning fall from grace, the youngest self-made female billionaire facing the prospect of years behind bars. The verdict sent ripples through Silicon Valley. It was a moment of accountability. The fall was complete. The Theranos saga left an indelible mark on Silicon Valley. The fake it till you make it mantra, long a part of the startup culture, faced renewed scrutiny. There is a difference between optimistic projection and outright deception. Theranos crossed that line spectacularly. The case served as a harsh reminder. Innovation cannot thrive on lies, especially not in healthcare, where lives are at stake. Investors became more cautious. Due diligence processes were hopefully strengthened. The era of blind faith in charismatic founders took a significant hit. The story also highlighted the critical role of whistleblowers and investigative journalism. Without the courage of former employees who spoke out, the truth might have remained buried. Without the relentless pursuit by reporters, the deception might have continued, causing even more harm. The Theranos case underscored the importance of a free press, its ability to hold power accountable. It showed that even the most secretive and well-funded organizations cannot hide the truth forever. These are vital safeguards in any society, especially in opaque industries like tech. For the healthcare industry, the implications were profound. The allure of disruptive technology is strong, but patient safety must always be paramount. The echoes of Theranos will resonate for years to come.